Happy 4th of July, at least on this side of the pond. I'm taking a little break from avoiding blowing my fingers off with my family to do an exploration on the battles of the American Revolution. Now, spoiler alert, I believe this is the definitive series on the tactical level battles of the American Revolution, meaning that I'm not looking at the operational scale or the strategic scale, I'm looking at the tactical level battles. And this series, I believe, does the best job of bringing that to the table. Now, the first in this series is Saratoga. There are several in this series. This is volume 1. I believe there are 10 in the series, with 11th one that's been announced and on its way. And actually, there was a recent tri-pack that was released that I believe had Saratoga, Guildford, and Brandywine in that offering. So there is still access to this series. I'm going to go through what I own in this series and kind of do a little brief exploration of it. So what do you get with this game? Well, the Saratoga, this is the first one. I want to start off with this, and you get a map. And I believe these maps are very nicely done. And I really like these maps. They're hex and counter. They're one mappers typically. And so, because these engagements are not huge engagements, they're relatively small counter density compared to, a World War II or even a Napoleonic engagement. These did not have the same level of troops involved as you would find like just a few years down the road in the Napoleonic engagements, which had, tens and maybe even up to 100,000 troops sometimes in some of the, or over 100,000 in some of the engagements. These are a little bit more focused, and so the terrain really plays a big effect in this game. And I believe this series does a really good job of capturing the feel of the period and how the units interacted and how, movement and combat and command was handled. So not only do you get a map, in each game that I believe is, a Kex map that I believe is very, I believe they're very attractive. This one is centering on Freeman's Farm, which was was kind of a turning point in this battle. And this battle itself, Saratoga, was a turning point in the American Revolution. So it was very pivotal in how it charted the rest of the war from that period forward. You're going to get, and the counters come relatively, let's get this guy up right here. So you're going to have a combat factor, a movement factor. This is a rifle unit. There might be some other modifiers. This is kind of a special unit here. So you have a lot of your same standard mechanisms. It's hex and counter. There are zones of control, limited zones of control. I mean, the capabilities of the units, whether they have rifle or whether they're artillery, that all comes into play. How their movement through the train chart, as I said, terrain plays a big factor in these because you're at the tactical level. You also have leaders as well. Here's a infamous leader at this battle. He was kind of a hero of this battle. This is Benedict Arnold. He would later turn and go over to the British side and be known as kind of a traitor, but at this stage, he was very important in the outcome of this battle. You're also going to get a standard series. Here's the exclusive rules. You're going to get the standard rules as well in this series. The rules book, this is like 11 pages. There's an expanded sequence to play on the back here. Dual column, they're not very complicated. I believe that the tri-pack might have had color rules. I don't know. I didn't look into it since I already owned all the individual games that were in that series. But, there you have an explanation of some of the units. Again, I think this is a very intuitive and very easy system to get into and plays relatively fast. This doesn't outstay its welcome. You're going to get the exclusive rule book, which is going to add some specific rules to that specific engagement. It might have different variants or scenarios. And then you're going to have some historical notes. And here's the Battle of Freeman's Farm here. So again, good rules, clear. The system is not that complex. And I think that's another reason why I like this. You also get some player aids. You get 2 of these. This is in the Saratoga game, of course. You're going to get your close combat table, your leader casualty, some close combat modifiers, your train effects. artillery, rifle, fire table, and the like. So you're going to have all the information you need to have here. There is a close combat table, but your other combat is not handled that way. It's handled through what the modifiers on the counters and the like to get your combat results. You also have a tactical matrix here that gives you a little bit more feel for the game and doing some different tactics. They eventually came out with a set of cards in the C3I that reduced the tactics to the card, and so you had all the modifiers are on the card. You get one set for each side here. And so you had the tactical cards came out. I can't remember which C3I that came out in, but you did get the tactic cards that basically replicates that table. This to me was very reminiscent of 1776, which had its own tactical cards. You had a deck for each side, and you had your tactical cards, and then there was a whole matrix, just not unlike the one that's in this game. You had a matrix that you compare the tactics, and it gives you a modifier. I actually took that system and put it in one of my first games. Don't have any published. I just published free to play on Board Game Geek, but Battle Leaders and Tactics, that was kind of the core system that I got from 1776. So it was interesting to see it coming here in the Battles of the American Revolution. So that is what you get in the box. This is Saratoga. The next in the series was Brandywine. This is September 11th, 1777. Now, this one might have, I think this is one of the larger battles of the American Revolution, or at least the larger ones that they portray in the series. So it has a few more counters than you're going to have in Saratoga. But again, I mean, that's your counters for this. I mean, they're not that much. And you're talking about a one map. So it's not unwieldy in any respect. Next in the series was Guildford, and this had a bonus battle in it, so you got two battles for the price of one. This was Volume 3. I don't know if they added the extra battle in the tri-pack when they came out with that. You guys can let me know in the comments. But this was the third in the series. The next in the series was Savannah, and Savannah was a siege, and that got a little different. What they did with Savannah is they added in an event deck, because this is a little bit longer engagement over time. So they had an event deck that you get with the game that changed up the play a little bit more. There was probably a little bit more special rules on bombardment and entrenching and stuff like that happened in Savannah, because it was mainly focusing on the siege. After that, they started getting back to battles again. You got Monmouth, which was June 28th, 1778, and this one is this is probably one of my favorite ones, because this one was kind of a delayed battle. It was one of the longest battles in American Revolution just because of the time length, but it was a delayed battle in that the American forces, soon-to-be American forces, the U.S., the Revolutionary forces were slow in engaging the British, and there was some issues of command and not wanting to go there, and Washington had to get involved and issue orders and kind of come and push the troops into an engagement. And so the battle really kind of came out to be somewhat of a draw, but if they would have engaged earlier, it might have been a clearer victory for the Revolutionary forces. What I like about this game is that this comes up in a lot of historical games of how do you recreate the elements of what happened that day without being it on a rail, and that it's just forced into the narrative. We have that with battles like Antietam, the Cannae, and stuff like that. Of how do you recreate history without, but still giving the other side a chance to make other decisions. This one has some markings on the, there's some parts on the map where if you're not there by a certain point, then Washington gets involved, or there's a chance to play it out exactly the way history happened, but also kind of allowing you to make some other decisions and force not force the narrative, but play out the same narrative constraints without having to be handcuffed to, you have to do it this way. So kind of like how they do that here. It was kind of an interesting mechanisms, and I always find that interesting because we play history. I play the games for the historical aspects. I want to see how history unfolded, but I also want to see the what ifs and see how things could have changed and why they did things the way they did. But when you have, overbearing factors that, you have to account for, because it really laid out the whole narrative of how that battle played out, but without having that just control all your decisions, because otherwise, if it's going to happen the exact same way, then why play the game, right? We just read the book and we know what happened. So I like games that kind of figure out creative ways of allowing you to change history, but not force you down the same road, but also not make it to where it's just, hey, anything can happen, right? We do want to be tied to some history in that aspect, or at least I do. The next in the series is Pensacola, and that is another siege, and with the sieges they get another event deck, so they added events to that. So this is Pensacola, dealing in Florida. And again, I don't know if I mentioned this or not, but this game is designed by Mark Miklos. This whole series is published by GMT Games. And my hat's off to Mr. Miklos. This is a great series. I really like this series. Again, spoiler alert, I like this series. I think this is the best on this topic. Next is Volume 7, which is Germantown. This is October 4th, 1777. We're not a siege anymore, so we're back to the standard fare of how the game works. Again, you get, this is about average of counters you get there. I mean, again, this is a small bag, so it's not like a ton of counters. It's not like a World War II game where you're going to just have, you need to have counter tray after counter tray. These fit in a relatively small bag. And so, again, another reason why I like this, because these are, I think, more accessible and you can get them to the table. Next is Newtown, and this one had a bonus game. This is Volume 8. This actually introduced the tactical cards, the ones that came out from the the C3I. You actually had these come out with Newtown, and then Newtown added these new deck of cards. This is dealing with a different aspect of the American Revolution. This is focusing on the Native American involvement in the battles and in the series. So it adds a little bit different feel and flavor to it. There is this is the 8th. There's a 9th and 10th game. I think the 9th game is out. I don't have it. And then there's a 10th game, I think, announced for this. But this is what I have in this series. Again, I like this series a lot. I think it was appropriate on the 4th of July to look at the Revolutionary War and that series. I believe at a tactical level, there's no better game or series that you can deal with. Now, there's some individual games out there that deal with some of these battles that you might prefer or like better, but I just think this is a great series. I like series because you can learn the basic rules, and then you can just transfer that to the next game, to the next game, to the next game. If you understand the series, then it makes everything else flow. And then, there's usually not a lot of rules for the exclusive rules for that specific battle, and so they're easy to pick up and then just fold into what you already know about the series. And again, the counter density is small. The maps are not huge. They're beautiful. They're easy to read. The rules are relatively clear and intuitive. This all fits into to me a good experience to experience that period or those battles and see what happens. So that's my exploration for today on the 4th of July. What are your thoughts? Which ones do you like out of this series? Is the tri-pack really the way to go? Because it's, I think, the one that's available now. What do you guys think about it? Do you like any of these individual battles more or less? Do you think they do a better or worse job on how they play or how they, unfold history? What do you think about the series? Do you find the series lacking? What do you like about it? What don't you like about it? I'd like to see a dialogue started. Really love to see that and see what comments are out there on that. If you like this video, please like. If you want to see more, please subscribe and hit the bell. That old jazz. I always end off with what's most importantly, thanks for watching. And I really do believe, I sincerely, you want to say that I really do appreciate you guys taking the time to look at these videos. I enjoy doing them. That's what I'm out there doing them for, is just to see, get a dialogue started, to show you what I have and what I think about some of these things. But I really want to see what you guys think about it. But on today, what I think is most important is that everybody have a happy and safe 4th of July holiday. Enjoy your time with your family and friends. Thank you.